Taemin was cleaning his room when Velana walked in without knocking. This was normal for her. She never asked permission to enter his space. The 17-year-old human boy looked up from folding his clothes and saw his stepsister standing in the doorway. Velana looked almost human except for her violet eyes and the way her skin seemed to shine under the artificial lights of New Seoul Station. She was shorter than Taemin, but moved with a strange grace that always made him feel clumsy. Her dark hair fell to her shoulders in waves that never seemed messy, no matter what she did. "What do you want?" Taemin asked. He did not sound angry, but he was tired. Living with Velana for the past 2 years had taught him to be careful around her moods. "Nothing special," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, like all Kethri voices. "I was just bored. Father is in meetings again, and your father is with him." Taemin nodded. His human father, Park Ji-woo, worked as a diplomatic liaison between humans and Kethri on this frontier world called Kepler 442b. Elder Morthak was Velana's biological parent and held an important position in the Kethri government. The two men spent many hours together discussing colony business. "You can watch the entertainment screen in the main room," Taemin suggested. He went back to folding his clothes, but Velana stepped into his room and sat on his bed without being invited. "I want to talk to you instead." "About what?" "About humans. You are so different from us." She tilted her head to one side like a curious bird. "Sometimes I wonder how your species survived long enough to reach the stars." Taemin stopped folding and looked at her. There was something in her tone that made him uncomfortable. "We survived just fine. We made it here, didn't we?" "Yes, but you are so fragile. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears. You get sick from things that would not hurt a Kethri child." She stood up and walked closer to him. "I have always wondered about human limits." "What do you mean by limits?" Velana smiled, but it did not reach her violet eyes. "How much pressure can human bones take before they crack? How much force can human muscles absorb before they tear? These are interesting questions." Taemin felt a chill run down his spine. "Why are you asking me this?" "No special reason, just curiosity." She reached out and touched his arm with one finger. Her touch was cold. "Your skin feels so thin compared to ours." "Velana, you're being weird. Maybe you should go back to your room." Instead of leaving, she moved even closer. They were now standing face to face in the small space between his bed and desk. Taemin could see his reflection in her violet eyes. "Do you trust me, brother?" she asked. Taemin hesitated. They had never called each other brother and sister before. Their parents wanted them to be a family, but it had never felt natural. "I guess so. Why?" "Then you will not mind if I test something small." Before Taemin could ask what she meant, Velana drew back her right hand. He saw her fingers curl into a loose fist and knew she was going to hit him, but it happened so fast he could not move out of the way. Her backhand strike caught him across the left side of his chest. The impact felt like being hit by a metal bar swung at full force. The air rushed out of his lungs in a painful whoosh, and his feet left the ground. Taemin flew backward across his small room. His back hit the wall with a loud thud, and he dropped to the floor in a heap. Sharp pain exploded through his chest and ribs. Every breath felt like knives cutting into his lungs. He tried to sit up, but the pain was too intense. When he looked down, he could see that his chest was already starting to swell. Something was definitely broken inside. "Oh no," Velana said, but her voice did not sound surprised. "Oh no, Taemin. I am so sorry. That was an accident." Taemin tried to speak, but could only make small, gasping sounds. The pain was getting worse with each breath. He looked up at Velana and saw something strange in her expression. For just a moment, her violet eyes looked calculating and cold. Then her face changed to show panic and worry. "Help!" she called out loudly. "Help us, please! There has been an accident. Within seconds, both fathers came running into the room. Park Ji-woo dropped to his knees beside his son while Elder Morthak went to Velana. What happened here? Park Ji-woo asked. His voice was tight with worry. We were just playing. Around like always, Velana said. She was breathing hard, and her eyes were wide. I did not mean to hit him so hard. I forgot that humans are not as strong as us. Is he going to be okay? Elder Morthak put a protective arm around his daughter. The tall Kethri adult looked down at Tae-min with what seemed like concern. We must get him to the medical bay immediately. Park Ji-woo carefully helped Tae-min to his feet. Each movement sent waves of agony through the boy's chest. Can you walk, son? Tae-min nodded, even though walking felt impossible. He leaned heavily on his father as they made their way through the corridors of New Seoul Station. Other colonists, both human and Kethri, stopped to stare as they passed. Word traveled fast in a small community. The medical bay was located in the central section of the station. Dr. Yoon So-ra was waiting for them when they arrived. She was a middle-aged human woman who had served as the colony's chief medical officer for 5 years. Put him on the examination table, she instructed. Her voice was calm and professional, but Tae-min could see worry in her dark eyes. As Dr. Yoon began her examination, Tae-min noticed that Velana was watching from the doorway. She had followed them to the medical bay along with Elder Morthak. Her violet eyes were fixed on him with intense focus. This is going to hurt a little, Dr. Yoon warned as she pressed gently on his ribs. When her fingers found the injury site, Tae-min cried out in pain. Definitely broken, she said quietly. The 4th rib on the left side. The fracture is clean, but deep. Dr. Yoon continued her examination using both her hands and a portable scanner. The device beeped and hummed as it created images of Tae-min's internal injuries. The break is unusual, she said after studying the results. Very precise, almost surgical in its placement. What does that mean? Park Ji-woo asked. Nothing concerning, Dr. Yoon said quickly. But Tae-min caught the look she gave his father. Just an observation. Accidents can create strange injury patterns. As Dr. Yoon prepared pain medication and healing treatments, Tae-min found himself thinking about what had happened in his room. The whole thing felt wrong somehow. Velana had been asking strange questions about human limits. Her strike had been too fast and too accurate for a playful accident. But when he looked at her now, she seemed genuinely upset about hurting him. She was talking quietly with Elder Morthak in the Kethri language. Their words were too soft for him to understand. But he could see tears in her violet eyes. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe the pain was making him think crazy thoughts. Velana was his stepsister. She would not hurt him on purpose. Would she? Dr. Yoon finished applying the medical patches that would help his rib heal faster. You will need to rest for at least a week, she told him. No heavy lifting or running. The bone should knit properly if you are careful. Thank you, doctor, Park Ji-woo said. How long before he is completely healed? For a human, his age probably 3 to 4 weeks for full. Recovery, maybe less if he follows instructions. Tae-min noticed that Dr. Yoon made notes on her medical tablet as she spoke. She seemed to be writing down more information than necessary for a simple broken rib. As they prepared to leave the medical bay, Velana approached his examination table. I am so sorry, brother, she said. The word brother sounded strange coming from her. I will be more careful when we play together. It's okay, Tae-min said automatically. But as he looked into her violet eyes, he wondered if anything would ever feel okay again. The walk back to their family quarters was slow and painful, but the physical pain in Tae-min's chest was nothing compared to the growing doubt in his mind. Something had changed between him and Velana in that moment when her hand struck his ribs. He just was not sure what it meant yet. The next morning, Tae-min woke up feeling like a transport ship had crashed into his chest. The medical patches Dr. Yoon had applied were working, but the pain was still intense. He could barely sit up in bed without wincing. His father, Park Ji-woo, knocked on his door and entered with a breakfast tray. "How are you feeling, son?" "Like someone hit me with a metal pipe," Tae-min said honestly. Park Ji-woo set the tray down and sat on the edge of the bed. His expression was serious. "We need to talk about what happened yesterday." "What about it?" "Elder Morthak and I have been discussing the situation. This incident could cause problems for both our families if word spreads around the colony." Tae-min frowned. "What kind of problems?" "You have to understand that Velana is going through a very important time in Kethri society right now. She is about to undergo her adult naming ceremony. Any sign that she cannot control herself around other species could damage her future permanently. But she did hurt me. Look at my chest." Park Ji-woo sighed. "I know she hurt you, but it was an accident. She did not mean for this to happen. The Kethri are naturally stronger than humans. Sometimes they forget how fragile we can be." The word fragile bothered Tae-min more than he expected. "I am not fragile. I just was not expecting to be hit." "Of course you are not fragile. But compared to the Kethri, all humans seem delicate. That is just biology. The important thing now is how we handle this situation." Before Tae-min could ask what his father meant, Elder Morthak entered the room. The tall Kethri adult had to duck slightly to fit through the human-sized doorway. His skin had the same shine as Velana's, but his eyes were more golden than violet. "Good morning, Tae-min," Elder Morthak said in his deep voice. "I trust you slept well despite your injury." "It was okay," Tae-min replied. Elder Morthak sat in the chair near the bed. "I want you to know how sorry Velana and I are about yesterday. She has been crying all night with guilt about hurting you. She does not need to cry. It happened already." "That is very mature of you to say, but I am afraid the situation is more complicated than a simple accident between step-siblings. You see, Velana is at a critical point in her development. In 3 months, she will stand before the Council of Elders to receive her adult name and position in our society." Park Ji-woo nodded. "The ceremony is very important to the Kethri people. It determines what role Velana will have for the rest of her life. If the council learns that she injured a family member through lack of control, they might decide she is not ready for adult responsibilities. She could be forced to wait another full year before trying again. For a Kethri, that delay would be shameful beyond measure." Tae-min looked between his father and Elder Morthak. "So what are you asking me to do?" "We are asking you to be understanding," Elder Morthak said. "When people ask about your injury, it would be better to say you were hurt during exercise training. A simple fall, perhaps. Nothing that would suggest Velana was involved. You want me to lie about what happened?" Park Ji-woo reached out and squeezed his son's shoulder gently. "We are not asking you to lie. We are asking you to protect your sister's future. This colony depends on cooperation between humans and Kethri. Our family is an example of how the two species can work together. If this incident becomes public knowledge, it could damage those relationships. But people will ask questions. Dr. Yoon already seemed suspicious about the injury. Dr. Yoon is a professional. She will not spread gossip about her patients. As for other people, they do not need to know the details. Just tell them you fell during your morning workout routine. You do exercise every day, so it will seem believable, Elder." Morthak leaned forward in his chair. "I know this is difficult to ask, but Velana truly did not mean to hurt you. She is still learning to control her strength around humans. In Kethri culture, siblings often engage in physical play that would seem violent to your species. She forgot that human bones are not as durable as ours." The word durable stuck in Tae-min's mind. It was different from fragile, but carried the same meaning. Humans were weaker. Humans needed protection. Humans could not handle what other species considered normal. "Will you help us?" Park Ji-woo asked. "Will you protect Velana's future?" Tae-min wanted to say no. He wanted to tell the truth about what had happened in his room. But looking at his father's worried face and Elder Morthak's pleading expression, he found himself nodding. Okay. I will tell people I fell during exercise. Thank you, son. This means more than you know. Elder Morthak stood up. You are a good brother, Taimin. Velana is lucky to have you in her family. After both adults left, Taimin lay back in bed, staring at the ceiling. Something about the whole conversation felt wrong, but he could not figure out exactly what bothered him. Maybe it was the way they kept emphasizing how fragile and delicate humans were. Or maybe it was how quickly they had come up with a cover story. Around midday, his best friend Kim Hae-won came to visit. Hae-won was the same age as Tai-min, and his family had lived on New Seoul Station since the colony was first established. The two boys had grown up together and knew each other better than anyone. What happened to you? Hae-won asked as soon as he saw Tae-min in bed with medical patches on his chest. I fell during my workout routine yesterday morning. Hit the floor wrong and broke a rib. Hae-won stared at him for a long moment. You fell during exercise? That is right. Tae-min, I have been working out with you every morning for 2 years. You never fall. You are the most careful person I know when it comes to physical training. Tae-min felt his face getting hot. Well, this time I did fall. It happens to everyone eventually. Where did you fall? In the exercise room? On the track? During weight training? The questions made Tae-min realize he had not thought through the details of his lie. In my room. I was doing stretches and lost my balance. Stretches do not break ribs, Tae-min. What really happened? Nothing really happened. I told you what happened. Hae-won sat down in the chair Elder Morthak had used earlier. Your alien stepsister did this, didn't she? No. Why would you think that? Because you are lying to me, and you only lie when someone makes you. Also, because there have been other accidents lately. What other accidents? 3 families in the past month, all humans getting hurt in weird ways around their Kethri neighbors, all claiming they fell or had exercise accidents. Hae-won leaned closer. My father thinks something strange is going on. Tae-min felt his heart speed up. What does your father think? He thinks the Kethri are testing us somehow, finding out how much damage we can take. But every family that gets hurt tells the same story. They fell. They had an accident. They never blame their Kethri friends. That sounds like conspiracy thinking. Maybe, or maybe it sounds like a pattern. Hae-won stood up. I am worried about you, Tae-min. If Velana hurt you on purpose, that is not okay, even if your parents want you to stay quiet about it. After Hae-won left, Tae-min found himself thinking about what his friend had said. Other families had similar accidents. Other humans were getting hurt around Kethri and then lying about what happened. Was it possible that Velana's attack was not a single incident? That evening, both families ate dinner together in the main room of their shared quarters. Velana seemed quiet and sad throughout the meal. She kept looking at Tae-min with guilty expressions and barely touched her food. How are you feeling today? She asked him as they were cleaning up. Better. The medical patches are working. I'm so glad. I was terrified I had really hurt you badly. She paused while putting dishes away. You have not told anyone what really happened, have you? No. I told people I fell during exercise. Good. That is good. It would be terrible if people thought I was violent or dangerous. She looked directly at him with her violet eyes. I would never hurt you on purpose, brother. You know that, right? Tae-min studied her face carefully. She seemed sincere, but something in her expression reminded him of the moment right before she had struck him. There was a calculating look behind her sadness. I know, he said. But later that night, lying in bed with his ribs aching, Tae-min realized he was not sure he believed her anymore. And if Hae-won was right about other accidents happening, then maybe his injury was not as accidental as everyone wanted him to believe. The thought kept him awake long into the night, wondering what was really happening on New Seoul Station and why everyone seemed so eager to cover it up. 3 days after the accident, Tae-min was walking through the central corridor of New Seoul Station when he noticed something strange. A group of Kethri adults stopped their conversation and stared at him as he passed. Their violet and golden eyes followed his movement with intense interest. This had been happening more often since his injury. Kethri colonists, who had barely acknowledged him before, now watched him carefully. They seemed particularly interested in how he walked and moved despite his broken rib. Tae-min tried to ignore the stares, but they made him uncomfortable. He was healing faster than expected and could move almost normally now. Dr. Yoon had seemed surprised during his checkup that morning. "Your recovery rate is remarkable," she had said while examining his chest. "Most humans with this type of fracture would still be in significant pain." "I feel much better. The medical patches are working well." "Yes, but this goes beyond normal treatment effectiveness. Your bone density readings are also unusual." She had paused then and looked at him carefully. "Tae-min, I need to ask you some additional questions for my medical records." "What kind of questions?" "About your family medical history, your exercise routine, your diet, things that might explain why you are healing so quickly." The questions had taken almost an hour. Dr. Yoon wanted to know everything about his physical condition and lifestyle. She measured his muscle tone and took blood samples for analysis. She even tested his reflexes and coordination multiple times. "Why do you need all this information?" Tae-min had asked. "For research purposes. The colony medical database helps us understand how humans adapt to life on this planet. Your case is particularly interesting because of the rapid healing." But something in her voice had suggested there was more to it than simple research, and when Tae-min was leaving, he had glimpsed her computer screen showing files labeled with numbers and codes rather than names. Now walking through the station corridors, he wondered if his medical examination was connected to the increased attention from Kethri colonists. They seemed to be studying him like he was some kind of scientific specimen. When he reached the recreation area, he found Haewon waiting for him at their usual meeting spot. His friend looked excited and nervous at the same time. "I found something important," Haewon said quietly. "We need to talk somewhere private." They went to an unused storage room in the lower level of the station. Haewon made sure the door was locked before he started talking. "My father helped me access some colony records," Haewon began. "We found files about the accidents that have been happening." "What did you find?" 6 human families have reported injuries in the past month. All of them involved Kethri neighbors or family members. All of them were told to keep quiet about what happened. Tae-min felt a chill despite the warm air in the storage room. 6 families? That seems like too many to be coincidence. That is what my father thinks too. But here is the really strange part. Every injured human has been called back for multiple medical examinations. They are all being studied just like you. Dr. Yoon said it was for research. Maybe, or maybe they are collecting data about human physical capabilities. Haewon pulled out a small data tablet. "Look at this list of the examination topics." Tae-min read the list on the screen. Bone density measurements, muscle fiber analysis, pain tolerance testing, healing rate documentation, stress response evaluation, blood chemistry changes. "This looks like they are trying to understand human biology in detail," Tae-min said. "Not just biology. They are testing human limits. How much damage we can take, how fast we recover, how we respond to physical trauma." But why would they want to know that? Before Haewon could answer, the storage room door opened. Both boys turned to see a tall Kethri adult standing. In the doorway, it was Commander Rethel, who worked in the colony security office. "Hello, boys," Commander Rethel said in his smooth voice. "I hope I am not interrupting anything important." "We were just talking," Haewon said quickly. "Of course. Young people need time to discuss their interests." Commander Rethel stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. Taemin, I heard about your recent injury. How are you feeling now? Much better, thank you. Excellent. Dr. Yoon tells me your recovery has been quite remarkable, faster than expected for a human with that type of damage. The way he said the word damage made Taemin uncomfortable. I guess I heal quickly. Indeed you do. In fact, your healing rate is faster than our medical models predicted for human physiology. This raises interesting questions about human adaptability. What kind of questions? Commander Rethel smiled, but his golden eyes remained cold. Scientific questions, medical questions, questions about how your species responds to the environment of this planet. He paused. Questions about human durability under various conditions. Haewon stepped closer to Taemin. We should probably get back to our families now. Of course. But first I am curious about something. Commander Rethel looked directly at Taemin. Have you noticed any changes in your physical capabilities since your injury? Increased strength, perhaps? Better reflexes? Enhanced endurance? No, I feel normal. Well, if you do notice any changes, please let Dr. Yoon know immediately. The colony medical staff are very interested in human adaptation patterns. After Commander Rethel left, the boys sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Haewon spoke. That was not a coincidence. He was looking for us. How could he know we were here? Maybe someone is watching us, or maybe they monitor all the storage areas. Haewon looked worried. Did you notice how he talked about human durability and adaptation? It sounded like they are running experiments. Taemin thought about his conversation with Dr. Yoon that morning. All those detailed questions and measurements, the way she had seemed surprised by his healing rate, the files on her computer with codes instead of names. I think we need to be more careful about what we say and where we say it. Agreed. But Taemin, I think something bigger is happening here. The accidents, the medical examinations, the way Kethri adults are watching injured humans. It all fits together. That evening at dinner, Velana seemed different. She watched Taemin throughout the meal with an expression he had never seen before. Not guilt or sadness, but something more like professional interest. You are moving much better today, she observed as they cleared the table. The pain is almost gone. That is wonderful. Humans really are more resilient than I expected. She paused. I mean more resilient than most people expect. What do you mean by that? Nothing specific. Just that human biology is interesting. Your recovery proves that your species is tougher than it appears. Later that night, Taemin found Dr. Yoon's medical tablet left on a counter in the common area. She must have forgotten it after treating a colonist with a minor injury. The screen was still active and showing patient files. Taemin knew he should not look, but curiosity overcame his better judgment. He touched the screen and saw his own file open. But instead of his name at the top, it showed a designation, Human, Subject TM01. The file contained detailed measurements and observations about his injury and recovery, notes about bone density, comments about healing rates, comparisons to baseline human physiology, and at the bottom, a section labeled Tactical Assessment. Under Tactical Assessment, someone had written, Subject demonstrates enhanced durability compared to standard human parameters. Recovery rate suggests adaptation to planetary conditions. Recommend continued monitoring and additional stress testing to determine upper limits of human resilience. Taemin quickly closed the file and stepped away from the tablet. His hands were shaking as he realized what he had just read. He was not a patient being treated for an injury. He was a test subject being studied for his biological capabilities. The accident with Velana had not been an accident at all. It had been the first step in some kind of experiment to test human limits. And now they were monitoring his recovery to see how much damage humans could survive. He thought about the other injured families Haewon had mentioned. Were they all test subjects too? Were all the humans on New Sol Station being studied without their knowledge? The most disturbing thought was that his own family seemed to be part of whatever was happening. His father and Elder Morthak had worked together to cover up the truth about his injury. They had convinced him to lie about what happened. They had made him protect Veliana, while she was actually the one testing him. As Taimin walked back to his room, he realized that everything he thought he knew about his life on the colony was wrong. He was not a diplomatic family member helping to build cooperation between species. He was a specimen being analyzed for military intelligence. The question now was what he could do about it without putting himself and Haywan in even more danger. The next morning, Taimin woke up with a plan. He needed to find the other injured humans and learn what was really happening to them. But he had to be careful because Commander Rethel and others were clearly watching him. He met Haywan at the exercise facility during their usual workout time. The large room was filled with humans and Kethri using various equipment, but they found a quiet corner to talk. "We need to contact the other families," Taimin whispered while pretending to stretch. "The ones who had accidents like mine." "That could be dangerous. If they are monitoring us, they will notice if we start visiting people we normally do not talk to. Then we have to be smart about it. Make it look natural." They spent the morning identifying the injured humans. The Lee family lived 2 levels up from Taimin. Mrs. Choi worked in the hydroponic gardens. The Park family ran a small repair shop. Mr. Jung was an engineer like Haywan's father. Ms. Kim taught at the colony school. The Yoon family managed food distribution. 6 families spread across the whole station, Haywan observed. They all have different jobs and live in different areas. But they all got hurt around the same time. And they all have close contact with Kethri neighbors or co-workers. Over the next few days, they carefully approached each family. Taimin visited the repair shop with a broken data pad that needed fixing. Haywan went to the school asking questions about advanced mathematics. They made excuses to visit the gardens and the food distribution center. What they discovered was disturbing. Every injured human told the same basic story. They had been hurt during what seemed like accidents with Kethri friends or neighbors. They had all been told to keep quiet to avoid damaging interspecies relations, and they were all being called back repeatedly for medical examinations. But the most shocking discovery came when they talked to 12-year-old Park Min-soo, whose father had been injured 3 weeks earlier. "Father has been acting strange since his accident," Min-soo told them quietly. "He keeps saying humans are weaker than he thought. But yesterday, I saw him lift a heavy machine part that usually takes 2 people to move." "What do you mean?" Taimin asked. "I think the accident made him stronger somehow, but he does not seem to realize it. When I mentioned it, he just said I was imagining things." That evening, Taimin tested himself carefully in his room. He tried lifting his desk, which was made of heavy metal. Before his injury, he would have struggled to move it. Now he lifted it easily with one hand. He was definitely stronger than before, much stronger. But somehow he had not noticed the change until he specifically tested for it. The next day, Dr. Yoon called him for another medical examination. This time, she brought another Kethri doctor he had never seen before. "This is Dr. Velthara," Dr. Yoon explained. "She specializes in comparative biology between different species." Dr. Velthara was older than most Kethri on the station. Her skin had a silver shine and her eyes were completely golden without any other colors. She studied Taimin like he was a particularly interesting puzzle. "Your recovery has been remarkable, young human," Dr. Velthara said. "Far beyond what our medical models predicted." "I guess I am lucky. Luck may not be the correct explanation. We believe your injury triggered adaptive responses in your physiology. Your body is changing to become more durable." Dr. Yoon looked uncomfortable. "What Dr. Velthara means is that humans may be more adaptable than we previously understood." "Much more adaptable," Dr. Velthara agreed. "The question is how much adaptation is possible and how quickly it occurs." They ran more tests than ever before. Strength measurements, reflex testing, bone density scans, blood chemistry analysis. They even tested his pain tolerance by applying controlled pressure to different parts of his body. Fascinating, Dr. Velthara said as she reviewed the results. His baseline capabilities have increased by approximately 30% since his initial injury. Is that normal? Taemin asked. For humans, we are not sure what is normal. Your species is still new to us. In many ways. After the examination, Taemin felt disturbed by Dr. Velthara's clinical attitude. She talked about him like he was a laboratory animal rather than a person, and the way she had emphasized the word adaptation suggested this was all part of some larger research project. That afternoon, he was walking through the market area when Velana approached him. She seemed nervous and kept looking around as if checking for observers. Taemin, I need to tell you something important, she said quietly. What is it? Not here. Meet me in storage room 7 after dinner. Come alone and make sure no one follows you. The rest of the day passed slowly. Taemin wondered what Velana wanted to tell him. Was she finally going to admit that his injury had been intentional? Or was this another trap of some kind? Storage room 7 was in the lower level of the station near the power generators. The constant humming of machinery would make it difficult for anyone to overhear their conversation. Velana was already waiting when he arrived. She looked different somehow, less confident and more worried than he had ever seen her. Thank you for coming, she said. I was not sure you would trust me enough. I am here. What did you want to tell me? The truth about what happened to you, about what is happening to all the humans on this station. Taemin felt his heart speed up. What? Truth? Your injury was not an accident. I was ordered to test your physical limits by striking you with measured force. The goal was to cause damage that would require healing so we could study human recovery rates. Who ordered you to do it? Commander Reth-Ul and the Council of Elders. They wanted to understand human durability and adaptation capabilities. I was told it was for scientific research. But you knew it would hurt me. Yes, I knew it would hurt you, and I did it anyway because I believed it was important for our two species to understand each other better. Velana looked down at her hands. I was wrong. What we are doing is not research. It is preparation. Preparation for what? For conflict. The Council believes that humans and Kethri will eventually compete for resources and territory. They want to know human weaknesses so they can exploit them if war comes. Taemin felt cold despite the warm air in the storage room. They are planning to fight against humans? Some of them are. They think your species is too dangerous to coexist with peacefully. The problem is that our research is proving them wrong. What do you mean? Humans are not weak like we expected. You are adapting to this planet faster than we are. Your recovery rates are incredible. Your strength is increasing. Even your intelligence seems to be enhanced by the environmental changes. So, what happens now? I do not know, but I think Commander Reth-Ul is planning something more aggressive than simple research. He has been meeting with military officials from the homeworld. Velana stepped closer to him. Taemin, I am sorry for what I did to you. I thought I was helping my people, but I was just helping them prepare to hurt your people. I want to make it right somehow. How can you make it right? By helping you stop whatever they are planning. But we will need proof of what they are doing, and we will need to warn the other humans without alerting the Council. As they made plans to expose the conspiracy, Taemin realized that his stepsister was finally becoming the family member he had always wanted her to be. But it had taken betrayal and violence to get them to this point. The question now was whether they could work together to save both their species from a war that was being planned in secret. Over the next week, Taemin and Velana worked together to gather evidence of the conspiracy. She used her access to Kethri facilities to copy files and record conversations. He coordinated with Haywin and the other injured humans to document their experiences. What they discovered was worse than either of them had imagined. The testing program had been running for 6 months before Taemin was injured. Dozens of humans had been subjected to various forms of physical and psychological stress. The Kethri had been measuring everything from pain tolerance to problem-solving abilities under pressure. "Look at this report," Velana said during one of their secret meetings. She showed him a data tablet with official Kethri documents. "They have been testing human children as young as 8 years old." Taemin read the file with growing anger. Young humans had been subjected to frightening situations to measure their stress responses. They had been given impossible tasks to see how they handled failure. Some had even been deliberately injured during supposedly accidental incidents. This is horrible. How could your people do this to children? The Council believes that understanding human psychology is essential for future dominance. They think your species poses a long-term threat to Kethri expansion. But the tests are proving humans are stronger than they expected, right? Much stronger. That is why Commander Rethel is getting desperate. The data shows that humans adapt to challenges faster than any other known species. Your physical capabilities improve under stress. Your problem-solving becomes more creative when faced with obstacles. Velana pulled up another file. This report compares human and Kethri performance on this planet. Humans are thriving in the environment, while Kethri physiology is slowly deteriorating. What do you mean, deteriorating? The gravity and atmospheric conditions here are perfect for human biology, but they are causing long-term health problems for my people. Our bones are becoming brittle. Our reflexes are slowing. Our fertility rates are dropping. Taemin studied the medical data. The numbers were clear. Humans were getting stronger and healthier, while Kethri were getting weaker and sicker. So the Council wants to eliminate humans before we become too powerful to control. Exactly. Commander Reth-Ul has requested military support from the home world. He wants to stage an incident that will justify removing all humans from the colony. What kind of incident? Something that makes humans look dangerous and unstable. Maybe a violent confrontation. Maybe evidence of humans planning rebellion. He needs an excuse to act against your people. That night, Taemin called a secret meeting with all the injured humans and their families. They gathered in the unused section of the hydroponic gardens where the sound of water pumps would cover their voices. 23 people came, including children as young as 10. Every family that had been subjected to testing was represented. "We know what has been happening to us," Taemin began. "The accidents were not accidents. We have been test subjects in a military research program." The reaction was immediate. Angry voices, shocked gasps, parents holding their children closer. "How do you know this?" asked Mr. Jung the engineer. Velana stepped forward from where she had been hiding behind some equipment. "Because I was part of the program. I was the one who broke Taemin's rib." The crowd of humans turned hostile immediately. Several adults moved protectively in front of their children. "Wait," Taemin said loudly. "She is here to help us. She brought the evidence we needed." "Why should we trust her?" demanded Mrs. Choi. "She hurt my daughter last month." "Because she is risking her life to warn us about what comes next." Taemin looked around at the faces of his neighbors and friends. "Commander Rethel is planning something worse than testing. He wants to eliminate all humans from the colony." Velana explained the situation in detail. The military request, the plan to stage an incident, the timeline for action. "How much time do we have?" asked Ms. Kim, the teacher. 2 weeks at most. The military ships from the home world are already en route." "Then we need to contact Earth immediately," said Mr. Park. "Request emergency evacuation for all human families." "That will not work," Haewon said. "Earth is 6 months away even with the fastest ships. By the time help arrives, we will all be dead or imprisoned." "So what do you suggest?" asked Mrs. Lee. Taemin had been thinking about this problem for days. "We fight back, but not the way they expect us to." "What do you mean?" "Commander Rethel wants us to look violent and dangerous so he can justify attacking us. Instead, we prove that humans are better than they assumed. We show them what we are really capable of. How do we do that? By using what we learned from their tests. We know now that humans are getting stronger and smarter on this planet. We know we adapt faster than they do. We use those advantages. Over the next hour, they made plans. Each family would continue pretending to cooperate with the testing while secretly documenting everything. They would gather evidence of the conspiracy and prepare to present it to both human and Kethri leadership at the same time. But most importantly, they would demonstrate human capabilities that the Kethri had not expected. The tests showed we get stronger under pressure, Taman explained. So we create pressure situations that make us stronger. We train together. We push each other to improve. We become living proof that humans are not the weak species the Council thinks we are. What if it does not work? Asked 12-year-old Minsu. Then at least we will go down fighting instead of hiding. The meeting ended with everyone committed to the plan. Parents hugged their children. Adults shook hands with grim determination. Even the youngest humans seemed to understand that their survival depended on working together. As the families dispersed, Velana approached Taimin. Do you really think this will work? I think humans are capable of more than your people realize. The tests proved that. Now we just have to prove it in a way that saves both our species. Both our species? If Commander Rethel starts a war, it will hurt Kethri too. Your people are getting weaker on this planet. You need human cooperation to survive here long term. Velana nodded slowly. You are right. My people just do not see it yet. Then we will have to show them. The next morning, Taemin began training harder than ever before. Not just physical exercise, but mental challenges too. Problem-solving games, stress resistance practice, coordination drills with other humans. Within days, the results were obvious. Every human involved in the training was getting stronger and faster and smarter. The children improved even more dramatically than the adults. More importantly, they were working together with an efficiency that surprised even themselves. Families that had barely spoken before were coordinating complex plans. Children were solving problems that had stumped adults. The entire human community was becoming something greater than the sum of its parts. Commander Reth-Ul noticed the changes immediately. His spies reported increased human activity and cooperation, but instead of making him cautious, the reports made him more aggressive. They are planning something, he told Dr. Velthara during a meeting Velana secretly recorded. Human behavior has become too organized, too purposeful. We may need to accelerate our timeline. The military ships will not arrive for 10 days. Then we will have to create the incident ourselves and contain the humans until reinforcements arrive. As Taemin listened to the recording, he realized their time was running out faster than expected. Whatever they were going to do, they had to do it soon. The question was whether humans could prove their worth before Commander Rethul decided. They were too dangerous to live. 3 days before the Kethri military ships were scheduled to arrive, Taemin made his decision. It was time to force the confrontation on human terms rather than wait for Commander Rethul to act. He called an emergency meeting of all human families in the colony's main assembly hall. But this time he also invited every Kethri citizen, including Elder Morthak and Commander Rethel himself. This is dangerous, Velana warned him. If you reveal everything now, he might order immediate action against your people. If we wait any longer, he will act anyway. At least this way we control when and how the truth comes out. The assembly hall was packed with nearly 400 colonists, both human and Kethri. Tension filled the air as people took their seats. Commander Rethel sat in the front row with several other Kethri officials. His golden eyes were fixed on Taemin with obvious suspicion. Taemin walked to the speaker's platform, feeling every eye in the room watching him. His broken rib had healed completely and he was stronger than he had ever been in his life. But this was not about physical strength. This was about something more important. Citizens of New Sol Station, he began, I am here to tell you about a conspiracy that threatens both our species. Immediate murmurs filled the hall. Commander Rethul started to stand, but Elder Morthak placed a restraining hand on his arm. 6 weeks ago, my stepsister Velana broke my rib during what everyone believed was an accident. Today, I am here to tell you it was not an accident. It was the first step in a systematic program to test human physical and psychological limits. The murmurs became angry voices. Several Kethri officials looked shocked, while others seemed guilty. The human families that had been tested nodded grimly as their experiences were finally acknowledged publicly. Over the past months, dozens of human colonists have been subjected to deliberate injuries and psychological stress. We were told to stay quiet to protect interspecies relations. We were made to lie about what happened to us. We became unwilling test subjects in a military research program. Commander Rethel stood up. This is outrageous. You have no proof of these accusations. Taemin smiled. Actually, I do. Velana walked onto the platform carrying a data storage device. These files contain 6 months of detailed records about the testing program, medical data, mission reports, communications with the Kethri homeworld, everything. She connected the device to the hall's main display screen. Immediately, documents appeared showing the scope of the conspiracy. Test schedules, injury reports, analysis of human adaptive capabilities, military assessments of human threats to Kethri expansion. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. You see, Taemin continued as the documents scrolled past. Your leaders wanted to understand human weaknesses so they could exploit them in future conflicts. But the testing revealed something unexpected. He gestured to the group of humans who had been test subjects. We are not the weak and fragile species you thought we were. The injuries you inflicted made us stronger. The stress you applied made us smarter. The challenges you created made us more unified. To demonstrate his point, Taemin picked up a heavy metal chair that normally required 2 people to lift. He raised it over his head with one arm and held it there effortlessly. My broken rib healed in half the expected time. My bone density increased by 40%. My muscle strength doubled. Every human who was tested showed similar improvements. Around the hall, other test subjects stood up and demonstrated their enhanced capabilities. Mrs. Choi lifted a table that weighed 300 pounds. 12-year-old Minsu solved a complex mathematical equation in his head faster than the room's computer could process it. Ms. Kim recited word-perfect details from conversations that had happened weeks earlier. This is impossible, Commander, Rethel said, but his voice sounded uncertain rather than confident. No, Taemin replied. This is human adaptability. This is what happens when you try to break us. We do not break. We become stronger. Dr. Velthara stood up from her seat. The medical data confirms what he is saying. Human physiology is adapting to this planet's conditions faster than any biological model predicted. They are becoming the dominant species here, which is exactly why they must be controlled or eliminated, Commander Rethel said. They pose a threat to Kethri interests. Do we? Taemin asked. Let me show you something else we discovered. Velana brought up new files showing comparative health data between humans and Kethri on the colony. While humans are getting stronger and healthier, your people are getting weaker and sicker. The environmental conditions that enhance human biology are slowly destroying Kethri physiology. You need us more than we need you. The medical data was clear. Kethri bone density was decreasing. Their immune systems were struggling. Their fertility rates were dropping. Without human assistance, their colony would fail within a generation. But instead of acknowledging this reality, Taemin continued, your leadership decided to treat us as enemies. You chose to test us like laboratory animals rather than work with us as partners. Commander Rethel's face showed growing anger. Even if what you say is true, humans cannot be trusted with this knowledge. Your species is too aggressive and unpredictable. Really? Taemin looked around the hall. Then let me demonstrate human unpredictability. He turned to face Commander Rethel directly. Despite everything you have done to us, I am not going to demand punishment or revenge. Despite the fact that you plan to eliminate us, I am not going to call for your removal from the colony. What are you going to do? I am going to offer you a partnership, a real partnership based on honesty and mutual benefit rather than deception and exploitation. The hall fell completely silent. Even Commander Rethel seemed stunned by the proposal. Humans are becoming the dominant species on this planet, Taemin explained. But dominance does not mean we have to destroy those who are weaker. Your test proved that humans become stronger when we work together. That includes working together with Kethri, who are willing to treat us as equals. He gestured toward Velana. My stepsister broke my rib on your orders. She could have continued lying about it and protecting the conspiracy. Instead, she chose to help expose the truth and save both our species from a pointless war. That is the real human unpredictability. We forgive those who hurt us if they are willing to change. We include those who excluded us if they are willing to cooperate. We build bridges instead of walls, even when walls would be easier. Elder Morthak stood up. What exactly are you proposing? A new colony government with equal representation from both species. Shared scientific research instead of secret military programs. Combined training programs that make both humans and Kethri stronger together. A true partnership that benefits everyone. And if we refuse? Taemin shrugged. Then you continue getting weaker while we continue getting stronger. Eventually, you will need our help to survive whether you want it or not. The question is whether you choose cooperation now or desperation later. Commander Rethel looked around the hall. The evidence was overwhelming. The human demonstration had been impressive. Even his own people seemed convinced that the current approach was failing. The military ships from our home world will arrive in 3 days, he said finally. Then we have 3 days to prove that partnership works better than conquest, Taemin replied. Are you willing to try? After a long pause, Commander Rethul nodded. We will try. But if humans prove to be as dangerous as I believe, they will be dealt with accordingly. Fair enough. But I think you will find that humans are only dangerous to those who try to harm us. For those who work with us, we are the best allies you could ask for. The meeting ended with the formation of a joint Human-Kethri Council to redesign the colony government. Velana was appointed as the first Kethri liaison to the human community. The testing program was officially ended, and all research data was made public. Most importantly, both species began training together to maximize their combined capabilities on the new world. 3 days later, when the Kethri military ships arrived, they found a thriving integrated colony where humans and Kethri worked side by side as equals. The ship commanders were so impressed by the cooperation and productivity that they requested permission to establish similar partnerships on other frontier worlds. That evening, Taemin and Velana sat together in the observation deck, watching the stars. Do you think this will really work long-term? She asked. I think humans and Kethri are both smart enough to recognize a good thing when they see it. Your people get the benefit of human adaptability and strength. We get the benefit of Kethri technology and knowledge, and we both get the benefit of not having to fight each other. Exactly. You shattered my rib thinking it would prove humans were weak. Instead, it proved we were strong enough to forgive you and smart enough to work with you. Velana smiled. I guess that makes us family for real now. The best kind of family. The kind that chooses to stick together even when it would be easier to fight. As they watched the stars together, Taemin realized that his broken rib had healed into something stronger than the original bone. Just like the colony itself had been broken by deception and healed into something stronger through truth and cooperation. Sometimes the best strength came not from avoiding damage, but from learning how to heal properly afterward.